Back home once again after a hectic tour of duty to Australia and Solomon Islands. I want to inform the country I've just stepped back from a hectic but fruitful tour of duty to Australia and Solomon Islands. We are ring-fenced by good neighbors, very near neighbors in every sense, near in close geographical proximity, with shared resources, shared boundaries, including shared people who are close friends to us. And my visit to Australia and New Zealand were at the highest, though I may not have met in person the Australian Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. We spoke on phone when I was in Australia, but I paid respect to Australia by visiting the Governor General, and it was certainly a pleasant visit. Her Excellency, the Honourable Sam Austin, she's a very pronounced lawyer in her own right, a women's advocate and a philanthropist. She was gracious in giving her time to myself on behalf of all of us. Our shared nation's historical ties were shared between both of us, and especially how Australia has, in her own infancy, took over Papua New Guinea in early 1900s. Lest we forget, Australia became a nation in 1906, and a few years after the responsibility of British Papua was passed, and later on the responsibility of territory of Papua and territory of New Guinea was passed after the war. So they were imagining themselves as a country when they were given custody over Papua New Guinea. And of course, our landmark day, September 16th, 1975, when we became independent at the hands of Australia. So good respect to them in our 50th year. Those steps need to be taken. We informed the Governor General that certainly there'll be events also in Australia with key institutions as well as key people or relatives of those key people in commemorating our 50th year. My trip down to Australia was to start the conversations on our 50th year program that should culminate in September 16th celebrations, as well as a run-through from this year September 16th to next year September 16th, when we go through our 50th year programs in that year coming up. After Governor General's visit, I was given very moving contact with PNG history. One of them in my own highlight that has enriched me is to hear the words of Selgoff Woodland, the Prime Minister who bettered our country at the archives of Australian Broadcasting Commission and Broadcasting Corporation, rather, and to hear the words uttered at September 16, 1975 was very touching. Speech that resonates very well up till today. A couple of key pointers that Golf Whitlam mentioned was that Papua New Guinea has now emerged as a nation. The flag is lowered and not torn down. Australia will remain a friend with PNG every step of the way through, but PNG would carve out its own foreign policy outlook as being better as a nation. They have the rights to relate to other nations around, but Australia will still remain a strong support to PNG all the way through. And I just thought that was good. I looked at some of earlier independent or pre-independent photos taken by ABC. ABC emerged out of the wartime army radios that was operating in PNG. So quite a attachment with our country on how ABC was bettered, but ABC themselves had quite a sufficient document. We are compiling every materials we can collect on pre-independence history, and both audio as well as visual as well as recorded reports on PNG, and then right through from 1975 up till today, from different point of our registries. And so ABC has rich history of our country's past before 75 and right up 75 up till today. And that contact with the archives was important. Spent a good hour there. And later on during the day on Friday, I had a good meeting with Westpac. Westpac has been present in PNG since 1910, in case we forget this. They've been in our country since 1910. I commended the Westpac for holding their presence in our country up till today. We conversed on their continued presence here and some of the business product that they can tailor to a country that is now a much bigger economy than what we were when they first started in 1910 or even at 1975. Westpac gave the full assurance to us they're not moving anywhere. They took consideration on for them to expand the product line in our country, considering the economy at 2025. I did give them information on what's happening in the next 5 to 10, 15 years in as far as the growth of our economy is concerned. Mr. Treasurer, they said they've observed, and I think a report came out from Westpac. They did said that our economy did much better than expected last year. They did also affirm in their own study that in the next 5 years, as a growth focus for our country, not just at the backdrop of our mining and oil and gas project we are lining up, but also in our considered focus on agriculture and downstream agriculture, downstream fisheries, and downstream forestry. They thought these were moves in the right direction. We've now matured to a stage where we have market presence in as far as our product is concerned, and attend to value-add export will generate more jobs in our country, and at the highest, Westpac did give the accommodations. But in case some of you would have noted, the time when me and Prime Minister Albanese signed the NRL agreement that we were accepted as a team with NRL Chairman Peter Valandis, in a photo, I had Westpac. The ball that was passed to me, Westpac is a big sponsor of NRL also. So the ball that I had in my hand, I had full Westpac W faced out. And so I had a present to give to them, and they did indicate possibility of them being a sponsor in our NRL team, subject to proposals and going forward. So I thought that was also a good meeting. And later in the afternoon, I met the NRL chairman, Mr. Peter Valandis, and NRL CEO, Mr. Andrew Abdo. Those were leaders of NRL who were able to allow us to have our franchise license. We no longer a bid team. We're already a team in NRL, preparing to participate in 2028. I've given my blessings for joint venture work with the NRL in itself. They have the expertise. They know how to start up a business that will be sustainable financially. And so in the first few years, NRL the team set up by NRL itself will run the team for us. We'll be jointly discussing who becomes the chairman and getting the team up and running. We will be sitting on the board as partners, and once the team is set up running, hopefully in 5 years' time, we should have 100% control over the team. But it is to our advantage that NRL has a strong presence in our team as far as getting the business unit up and running, getting the clockwork system and the clockwork of running a professional team that is much higher than Queensland Cup. In fact, the National Rugby League team is the best rugby league competition in the world. I just want to impress on every one of you, it's not just rugby league. This is a vehicle, a conduit in which we will sell our country to the world in as far as the right context is concerned. We are a mega hotspot for niche tourism. We are a mega hotspot for business and commerce. The world knows our potential as a business and commercial country for our various products. And so using NRL and our team participating here, we will have TV coverage that runs every week on our PNG team playing in the best rugby league competition in the world. And rugby league is making headway into USA. In case you do not know, I was invited to go to a game that is playing in Las Vegas this weekend, but I turned down the invitation. And I've asked Minister Chachenko, our foreign minister, to be in attendance simply at the backdrop that there are U.S. government representatives also with Australian government representatives in attendance to that game. At the side of that game, there'll be important conversation on commerce, trade, and government-to-government relations. So rugby league is just not sport. I want to advise all Papua New Guineans who may see this in a negative. Using our participation in NRL, there'll be cascading value-added positives for our country, including tidying Port Moresby for the first time in a manner in which Port Moresby is truly modernized and livable by all types of people, including our visitors, for the games that is being played. This year we have a 15 million kina in budget to support Safe City in Port Moresby. I do apologize for continued recurrence of crime that does happen in our city. But as we go forward into the future, and the police that is being put together to police Port Moresby and our country, will rely on such interventions as camera in our cities. And the work for us to do right now, as we go into not just our 50th, but the next 3 years, to prepare our team to be hosting world-class competition, is making Port Moresby a safe city. Port Moresby a safe city. And so I want to remind everyone, from NRL, there's a cascading ripple on positive effect for our country. There's over $300 million worth of investment by Australian government into this team. B team was not grant, not loan. It is free grant supporting our team. Part of that junior academy for our boys and girls. The possibility of a junior competition also in Australia, where we will have our under 21s playing there. Our girls will play in women competition, and our boys have a path to go to play professional rugby league. And NRL has given the full support. PNG has the catchment of young players who could eventually filter on not just to our team, but other teams in NRL, and that has been acknowledged. A greater part of that work, investment, would be on expanding schoolboys and schoolgirls rugby league, as well as other sports. Other sports will benefit from a center of excellence. We're building at somewhere in between the beginning sports area. That will be the first user right to our NRL Academy and NRL team, but it will be open for rugby union, soccer, Aussie rules, basketball, cricket, all other sports personnel in our country. That center of excellence will be a world-class training facility for athletes to prepare them. And the country by now should know our government values sport, especially professional sport, as a career option for young people. That is why we packed the sports portfolio with the Higher Education Ministry. Simply put, those who are gifted in sports, various forms of sports, not just rugby league, if we properly develop with the provincial governments and districts a good sporting program at primary school and high school, eventually we could have a catchment for those of our youths and children who are gifted in sports. They could have career paths emerging in various sports, and that is the intention of the government. Rugby league being our number one sports, the most favorite sport, with a focused area of captivating our country behind the Cats. It's the Cats for our team now, and I'm just letting you all know. One team, one people, one nation, one country, one dream. The dream to uplift our NRL trophy is one of them, but more importantly, the dream for our country to be progressing. And so we're really behind rugby league in this manner, but all other sports should be developed so that our youths coming through our school system knows that if they're gifted in one sport or another, there's a possibility of them progressing. I just want to take this time to appeal to all our sports administrators. Firstly, I call out to rugby union. My heart bleeds for this good sport. All rugby union people of interest in rugby union, please fix these good sports. My government have, through Kumul Petroleum, asked Kumul Petroleum to be a major sponsor of rugby union. We've given 10 million kina already, I think 2 years ago or so. I just want to ask rugby union executives and officials right throughout our country, fix this good international sport. Rugby union is even bigger than rugby league. Rugby league is concentrating on just 5 nations, now possibly breaking into the American market. Rugby union is big. Fix it up, please. I call for soccer. Soccer is even bigger. The most beautiful sport, soccer. James Marape is not rugby league. I am sports. Sports is a conduit in which all of our youths who are gifted in sport could be participating inside. So I call upon the administration of soccer. I commend them. They've been leading in their own way. Government stands ready to assist soccer. Soccer covers almost 70% of our country. And I just want to ask soccer administrators, get your plan out ready for us. Part of our 50th anniversary program is to roll out sports through all our country also. And I ask soccer, please step out. Basketball, in case some of you do not know, I was a basketball player in my high school days. And so basketball, I think I've made contact with those in the basketball leadership. My brother Charles Abel reached out. I think he's the current president of basketball. As Basketball Federation administrators, get yourself organized. We look forward to assisting you also. And all the other sports, athletes, weightlifting, boxing, the individual sports. We're doing very well in cricket. I look forward to a report in cricket. I commend the cricket, those who are involved in cricket. They're almost breaking through the top 20 in terms of participating. We commend them. We're doing much better in Aussie rule. In case the country doesn't know, in our preoccupation in rugby league, in Aussie rule we are world champions as we speak today. The Mosquitoes came back from being world champions, so Aussie rule is doing very well. We want to encourage all in sports. Organize yourself. I'll be spending a time with the Sports Federation on Friday and to look into what's happening there and to make sure that sports is activated as a major part of our country's life in corralling all our youths into participating in these positive activities instead of leaving them restless out there. So that was my Friday work. I'm reporting to you because you all pay my salary, so I need to report to the country. Saturday, of course, I had a rest time, but on Sunday I met, very importantly, the biggest mobilizer of Papua New Guinea and Pacific workers into Australia. I think they call People In, if my memory is not wrong. We want to, and there's a lot of need for the Australian, in the labour market, there's a big need to fill in not just temporary labour needs, but also in the technical vocational spaces. And we've met. We will organize a system in which we know exactly who we are uplifting from PNG to send to work in Australia. I want to indicate to the country one of my my reasons as to why I work with Australia in the first instance is knowing exactly that Australia labour market will open up for us. It is now opening up in a big way. We just need to do it properly. And I'm not just targeting the fruit picking type of labour. There will be a big need emerging in Australia for the blue collar workforce, as well as nurses, as well as teachers, as well as pastors in Australia. So in that context, we'll come back, we'll organize better amongst ourselves, and we will funnel all Papua New Guineans who go to Australia through one one gate. That includes checking their character, making sure they're all educated up to grade 12. I've made this commitment, only those who are educated up to grade 12. Now you ask me, I'm not educated to grade 12. Well, our government has opened the flexible open education pathway. Today, over 100,000 Papua New Guineans are now back in the second chance learning through this pathway. Matriculate yourself, get yourself educated. This window opening in Australia will be in excess of over 10,000 to 20,000 Papua New Guineans needed to work in Australia going forward into the future. And so we will have a criteria, we will have qualifications at baseline, grade 12 certificate. Another baseline qualification would be a pastor must have certified your character. Doesn't matter which pastor, if it's a pater or if it is a pastor, or if there must be churches in our country must have made reference on you. District or province, we will collect fairly from right across our country. There will be a quota allocated to each province, including our special region of Bougainville, and so we have an equal quota based on need in Australia. We have lived from across the country, grade 12 certified Papua New Guineans, as well as pastor certified Papua New Guinean. So that we don't send riffraffs down there, spitting boy all over the place, doing something that is worthwhile pursuing, because Australia has emerged, and New Zealand too, has emerged as a country of employment for our country, something that I saw in 2008, 2009 when I was Education Minister. I worked on, in case some of you do not know your own history, I worked on Australia Pacific Training College. Now Port Moresby is a certified trainer of those who can be certified to work in Australia. So Australia is now emerging as a big point of employment for us. And the reason why we want to pick only grade 12 graduates is that as they go down to work on the temporary jobs, later on we could overlay with linking them to colleges in Australia. So they study there, get a skill there. If they choose to work there, they work there. If they work on condition, one of them would be you always come back home. So we'll do it properly instead of each province is doing their own, each district doing their own, each agency doing their own. We don't know who is sending down in Australia can have one incident or two incidents that could really rub and cast a dark shadow over a good intention and a good program that may be opening up to give employment opportunity to Papua New Guineans. So that was a good meet for me. I did commit and will come back. Treasurer right now is in charge of the labor mobility. We will tidy program and these two qualifications, and I want to use this press to get the message out. If you want to go and work in Australia now, education never stops. If you are 25-year-old, 30-year-old, matriculate to do grade 12. And be a good citizen, get a pastor to make reference to you. And to all pastors who are signing references, your reputation is on the line. Make sure you sign good citizens to go out and work. It will be equal proportion, male and female. It will also be equal proportion in our 20 provinces, our nation's capital district, as well as our Bougainville. So I just thought I'd put this out for all of you. I had a very good session on Monday. In case some of you think I was on holiday, very busy day for me. Monday, I was in Canberra. 16 to 20 national parliamentarians from Papua New Guinea, from both sides of the our divide. It's a bipartisan meeting, some from the opposition side and some and all majority from our government side who are in Canberra as I speak. There's a retreat going on in terms of their study on Australian parliamentary democracy, the work of our parliamentarians, the relationship between the Australian Parliament and PNG Parliament, and of course in the context of our 50th anniversary relating to how our nations have our shared history and where we are today. I spoke to them at the National Museum in a luncheon there. I gave my address and I was assisted through some items in our museum that had PNG history. I was also privileged to see a 4,000-year-old Ambum stone in the Australian Museum. Why am I making reference to this one? Our history is not only up from 1975 up. We are a nation of people who have lived in this part of the world for over thousands of years. That Ambum Stone has predated, and I hear my senior standing here, his preoccupation in life is in that sort of space. Ambum Stone, for me, established our country's our people's long-term residency in our islands. And so Ambum Stone was there, predates back 4,000 years of life, and it's just not a stone. The way it is carved, I'll circulate a photo to Tony, and Tony, you could pass to all your media colleagues. It looked as if used technology to carve it out. Pure, symmetrical, heavy granite. Today you would use your electric tools to do a fine job like this. So it's an amazing technology they had back then. And when I posted up in a government WhatsApp, Governor Iparas and Honorable Amos Hakim realized right away, they said it's Ambum Stone, and they were correct to the core. So it shows how we have long history in our part of the world, and I just want us to be happy that in contemporary world we're finding our feet, but as a people, as culture, as nation of culture, we've been existing here thousands of years in high seas and in high mountains, in valleys in our country by God's grace. So museum contact was good. I also had opportunity at the Australian Library that had a lot of our history also, and I spent the afternoon at the archives, again going through documents pre-independence, the independent documents that allowed us to cede from Australia as Australian territory into a sovereignty of our own. And later in the evening, I addressed the Golf Whitlam Foundation. We've now renamed the Australian government scholarships for Papua New Guineans to do undergraduate and postgraduate. It's now renamed Somare Whitlam Scholarship. And I guessed over that important moment, and a few Papua New Guinean students who are now studying at Australian National University were given awards, and we had a moment of respect for the Brotherhood of Whitlam and Somare as they worked into allowing our country to be independent at 1975. And of course, early morning, I had to arrive in Honiara by 8 o'clock, so I got up 3 o'clock in the morning, and I shuttled across to Honiara. There's an important meeting taking place in Honiara right now as I speak, on fisheries. The country needs to know we are a big block of fish-producing nation. Our 2.7 million square kilometers of waters, our EEZ, produces close to 20% of world's tuna supply. The entire Pacific put together produces above 50% of world's tuna supply. And when I add on all other marine resources and aquaculture resources we have in our country, fisheries will be a powerhouse for economy going forward. It's a big important meeting with FFA members as well as PNA members, and it's taking place right now as I speak, and on sustainability of our fisheries sector. I was quite blunt yesterday. Some of you may see the circulation of my address on that in that forum. We're talking about sustainable fisheries, and I point to them that Papua New Guineans as well as Pacific Islanders practice sustainable fisheries. That lecture must not be a lecture for us at the Pacific. That is a lecture for those who fish in Indian Ocean, Atlantic Oceans, and other oceans of the world. For us, we practice sustainable fisheries. We practice this for thousands of years. Our ancestors lived in high seas. And I did ask the important bilateral partners we have in that meeting, especially those who hold observer status in the Pacific Island Forum nations. And the observer, we have important observers. Most of them are G20. Most of them are G20 members. Most of them are APEC members. Not most, I say some of them are APEC members, some of them are G20 members, some of them are ASEAN members. And so they know who they are. I did call out all countries who were present there, USA, China, Japan, Australia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and I asked them, assist us stop illegal fishing, illegal and unregulated fishing. These are the groups that are depleting the fisheries in the Pacific, Central and Western Pacific waters. The world is concerned that this fish stock may be depleted. Other fish stock in other waters are being depleted as we speak. Our water remains the last water that is still healthy for not just tuna but major fish stocks in the world, so to speak. So I did ask our major nations who are observers in Pacific Island Forum, nations that assist us stop illegal fishing by use of satellite imaging, as well as tracing for those who are fishing illegally, where they bring their fish back. They bring the fish back to China, China you stop. You tell them you're doing wrong. If they bring the fish to Philippines, Philippines government assists us telling them you're doing wrong. If they bring the fish back to Indonesia, Indonesia government. They bring back to Thailand, Thailand government. I'm just using some name as a case in point. So I did call strongly for our bilateral partners to assist stop illegal fishing. This illegal fishing is a big contributor to unsustainable fishing in Pacific waters. Secondly, I call for these partner nations to remain committed to keeping global temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, because as our waters warm up, fish as a migratory species could migrate to Eastern Pacific waters or elsewhere. So I ask our big development partners who also hold big carbon footprints, all of them. Right now as I speak, the biggest carbon footprint holder is China. Second is USA. Third is China. Then the European bloc, India, and all our partner nations. I ask them, remain committed to keeping 1.5 degrees Celsius as a target by 2050, and as shift to clean energy so that waters could remain in its natural state. And then the food stock, fish, which is a food, the fish stock will remain because the world will need this fish and marine produces going into the future. Now, these are big conversations, but zeroing in for us, fish and tuna has the greatest potential to be a big employment creator for us and money earner for us. I did inform that forum yesterday in Honiara that working with the American through our ship rider and our defense corporation, any illegal fish in our waters, we will catch them and sink the boats and apprehend the boats. Very recently, we've caught one or two illegal fishing, and both our own Marine as well as defense U.S. Marine did boarded those illegal fish, illegal fishing ships. So I did inform the forum, Papua New Guinea will not tolerate illegal fishing in our waters. One of the reasons why we signed the defense cooperation with USA military is to make sure we protect our waters from illegal fishing. And so I informed the forum yesterday that no illegal fishing boat must come into our waters. Working with PNG Navy and US, we will make sure that any boat we catch, we will sink those boats. I also did inform the forum that this year our fish domestication policy will come into place, and PNG will be on our way to all catches being brought into our country for processing and into our fish processing hubs and current plants we have, where we're working with to get it all fixed, if not set up our own. So our fish domestication policy will come in place. Minister Wong is there. He's working strong on an initiative called East New Britain Initiative. Nothing to do with East New Britain, but that concept, that idea was bettered at Kokopo. So it's labeled as East New Britain Initiative. This is an idea that PNG has bettered with. We're telling the Pacific brothers and sisters, we are 50% of the world's tuna supply. We want to be processors of tuna in our own countries to export to the market instead of exporting raw. If the small Pacific Island countries do not have land, water, labor, and electricity, PNG will avail land for them to set up the tuna processing facilities in PNG. That's the intention we have, and we have liaised very well with our Micronesian brother and sister nations and also indication for Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Fiji, those that have big land, to also participate in this space. Fishing industry is a big industry, and we're willing to help all our nations go side by side to make sure into the next 10 years or so, we have our own percentage, we have our own fish business that is catching, processing in the Pacific for value adding to export out to the world market. And that fish business, in my view, has potential for Papua New Guinea to create over 100,000 jobs if we get it right, and we want to get it right going forward. I want to indicate to our country, I was not just holidaying in Honiara, we were doing this job for us. Papua New Guinea is a big stakeholder in Pacific fish. We are 20% contributor to tuna catch, and that is substantial, and we are working in that space. I had a very good bilateral with Solomon Islands Prime Minister, and in case some of you do not know, we have over 3 billion kina worth of investment in Solomon Islands. Solomon Islands is a country where we have, it's a country with largest PNG investment overseas, and so I had a good meeting with the Solomon Islands Prime Minister. He is an ex-UPNG graduate. We, in fact, we were at UPNG around the same year together, so it was easy for us to reconnect and had good discussions on PNG and Solomon Islands business to business, people to people, we say close border with, and also government to government. We offered them 50 spaces to study in our universities and colleges on areas they feel is in need, and we're looking at our support program to them. We also did offer, going forward, subject to cabinet process, assistance program with Solomon Islands going into the future. And so I want to indicate to all of you, they're always, even in our moments of need, when we reach out to help our brothers and sisters in the Pacific, there will be blessings that flow to us. In the context of fisheries, PNG's leadership continues to be played out into the future. We mobilize all the fish resources of Solomon Islands. Kiribati holds the biggest EEZ, over 3.5 million kilometers of EEZ, substantial resource inside. Micronesia, and all put together, that's substantial power block in as far as fish is concerned. James Marape is a resource fighter, and I don't only fight for oil and gas and gold, I'm also now fighting and advocating for fisheries resources and forestry resource. That for me is a big money earner for our coastal people. We want to mobilize that in the right place, and not just mobilizing from PNG context, but working with Solomon Islands, working with all our Pacific Island nations who have substantial fish stock in them. And Solomon Islands being our closest brother nation in as far as Pacific is concerned, and Melanesia, it is only fair that we continue to work with them, and wherever we can, our assistance to them must be rendered on. After all, I did have good side meetings with other heads of government who were there, Prime Minister of Tuvalu, Prime Minister of Niue, President of Palau, as well as a host of other ministers representing their country, and they expressed their full support to us. Later this year, there'll be a Pacific Island Forum leaders meeting in Honiara, and Solomon Islands government has offered to upload all leaders from Honiara meeting straight into Port Moresby for our independence celebrations. I want to thank Solomon Islands government for the kind gesture. They've indicated to upload all the leaders who finished their meeting there. I'll shuttle them to Port Moresby for them to join us. I did invite some famous Solomon Island musicians and culture group. I don't know some of you, but some must like listening to a person like Stargy. Is it Stargy or Stargy? So without asking the committee here, I said, please, I want Stargy to come and play. So to Papua New Guineans, that week in September will be a busy week, cultural week. Pacific cultures will be here, our own culture, music, contemporary music as well as past musics, art, etc., etc. So an extension was made to Solomon Islands and Pacific, and there will be a lot of Pacific Island presence in that week for our independence later this year. And I want to ask all our citizens It's an important independence year for us. You don't get 50th independence of our country every now and then. It's a once in a lifetime occurrence. And our generation today, from my generation to our children who are alive today, are fortunate to be living in this moment. And even though there are many down moments, including lawlessness, but let's appreciate the independence we have. Other parts of our immediate precinct are struggling to be in self-government. I repeat, other parts of our immediate precinct and elsewhere are struggling to be in self-government. Other parts of planet Earth are fighting to defend their sovereignty. And you and me have something that the Somare generation carved out. Today, and this is the punchline for today's press, today as we ponder about Somare's passing, we cannot wake that generation up from the grave. They've gone, they've played their part, they've done their part, they've worked their part, they've gone. It is now our time now. And whilst the country holds the leadership to account and to be at work, I equally ask the citizens, ask not what your country can do for you. What can you do for your country? And I always repeat this, and I will repeat it all the time. If you do not know what to do for your country, the best thing you can do is living in respect with each other in society. At Somare's day of passing, I just want to appeal to all of us. Somare was only but 36 when he talked about independence, or when he ushered in our self-government. At 39, he became Prime Minister. He was a young man in his 30s, so if you're a young man in your 30s running around restless, ask yourself, what are you contributing to the country? Our government here has opened up path for you to participate in the non-resource sector of our economy. If you have no land in Port Moresby, go back home, pick up the land and work the land. The 1970 generations were agricultural generations. They built this country the backdrop of hard work and agriculture. There was no money except Panguna in 1975. This country was sustained at the backdrop of agriculture, and now we're throwing fisheries into the picture. These two twin will carry the country and be a place of mass employment and mass economic activity. So I call out to our citizens, if you are a young man at age 35 or in your 30s, you and me have a greater responsibility. You have half of your life ahead, and you're now fathering children. I want you to take leadership. I appeal to populists in that age bracket, because it was Somare and Sir Julius and their generation. They were men in their late 20s and 30s who carved this country out. It is this generation who are very active today. I ask you, work with government, work with society, and let's hold this country together. Start by respecting our mothers and daughters and children amongst us. And in doing that, we can all contribute to a better country. Let's not allow Somare's day of passing to be wasted every year. Let's ponder on what they've done, and we too, what we must do for our country going forward. Sorry, I spoke at length, but I just thought I had to cover my activities. James Marape do not just go for one activity and I rest through much of the other activities. I pack in all my time for country work, and you could have seen my Friday, my Sunday, and my Monday was taken up in those work we were doing to advocate for our country's prosperity.